it's the next level.
Shit. You know who that asshole was?
Yeah, nobody.
Hey, panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And I'm Daphne.
And this week, well, this episode, we just decided to do something out of the blue since this past weekend we just got The Walking Dead Season 10 episode A Certain Doom. So since, of all things, this is a comic book to movies or shows, of all things, that we've never really topped on The Walking Dead. So since it took them how many months to get this out for the finale? What was it, like 6 or 7 months?
Yeah,
I'd say about there.
It was supposed to be March, right?
Yeah.
Normally is when this would have aired, and
yeah, so we decided why not, because a lot of hype's been going on. All three of us here are big Walking Dead fans. That's how we became friends and got to know each other, because through Jason Kabasi's podcast for Walking Dead Cast and his Patreon, that's how we came to be, and that's how we started podcasting. So we figured might as well jump in on the fun and at least do this one particular episode and give our thoughts on World Beyond, which came out. So nonetheless, we'll start into it, and obviously we're talking Walking Dead Season 10 episode A Certain Doom, and the synopsis for that is Beta engages the final battle of the Whisperer War. And that was pretty straightforward, no surprises, nothing there to like, oh, we gave you some sort of hint or clue. No, basically, yeah, that's it. That's all we get. So what were you guys' overall thoughts based upon the actual show, the episode, before we get into our top threes?
Go ahead, Daphne, ladies first.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you for, first of all, thanks for having me on for this one. I'm really excited. As Mark said, we met through a Walking Dead podcast, being fans of a podcast. So it's really cool to be able to break this one down with you guys. Overall, I thought the episode was decent. There were some things I wish had happened, or maybe if the episode had been a little bit longer, because I felt like Beta, especially, that fight I wish had been longer. I feel like it was too short.
Oh,
I wanted something, I guess, a little more theatrical for him, because he's been such a great villain. And part of that duo with him and Alpha, I really look at as rejuvenating the show back to what I love about it, which is this sense of urgency and intensity, and I love that. So I really felt that should have been longer. And yeah, I have some other thoughts, but that's my overarching thought for this episode.
Yeah, my initial thoughts is because we waited so long to get this particular episode. I was like, yes, it's gonna be great. It's like, and after a while, it's like, no, okay. And it's exactly what I thought we would get, but it was something that we needed in, what was it, March at that time? Just after episode 15, and it would have been, oh yeah, that was great, but now it's just like, it was okay. I got a lot of what I wanted, a lot of changes based upon comic to show format, and that surprised me, and I liked it. A little less of Maggie than what I wanted, and a lot less of, like you said, Daphne, about Beta and how he met his demise. And we'll go into the comic book versus show comparison, because I think the show comparison to the comic was far better than the comic's ending, because in the comic kind of felt weak. But that's basically it. That's, I thought it was an okay episode. I thought it was pretty decent, but it didn't blow my socks off at all. It was pretty cool though, overall.
Yeah, I kind of echo the same kind of thing. I know after the first watch, I was just blown away, but then as I started to think about it, I kind of had the same thoughts you guys had. That fact that it's because we waited so long for it that it's like they could have put poop on a plate and we would have enjoyed it. But and that's not what they did. Like you said, it's a solid 8 for me. If it's a solid 4, 3.5, 4, if you're depending on what scale you're using. It's interesting you both say that about the beta fight, because if you haven't watched Talking Dead yet, they actually talk about that fight, and that there was a lot that went into it. So when we get into our top threes, I'll and notes, I'll elaborate more on that, or we can talk some more about what they said on Talking Dead. But yeah, I echo a lot of the same thoughts that you guys had. Not enough Maggie. I really wanted to see more of her, but I understand why we didn't get more of her. And hopefully in these next 6 episodes that we're supposed to get, hopefully we'll get more of Maggie. I don't know how contracts work. I don't know if they reworked contracts with this new, reorganizing of the episodes. And I don't know what we're going to get. Hopefully, I think we'll take a portion of this podcast and talk about maybe what our hopes are for those 6 episodes and our thoughts on it.
Yeah, definitely. We should. All right. So this is a time where we should get into our top 3s. So Daphne, since you're our guest, you go first, and then Steve will go, and then I'll do mine.
Okay.
But not all 3. Remember, 3.
3. So I just give you my number 3.
Yeah, do
Yes.
your 3, and then we'll do our 3, and then we'll just go down the list.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So my number 3 was the introduction of the Commonwealth. The funny thing about that is, I'm not a big fan of the Commonwealth storyline in the comics. However, wow, the fact that, they look like stormtroopers. They match so well to what the cover of the comic, and what they're pictured as, that I was blown away and excited about it, even though I'm still skeptical as to what will happen. I do have faith, though, that Angela Kang is going to deliver the story in a way that may be more exciting and includes more good storytelling than what we got in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Plus, there's so many differences between what characters are here now and...
Well, the show is the
available
show,
then.
and the comic is the comic, just like Steve states. But they just gravitate towards certain story arcs and give them to different people. And then they kind of switch it up and introducing completely new people. So that's what makes it a big difference. And I enjoy that.
Those Stormtrooper guys, that's the Commonwealth storyline from the comic?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's for those. Okay, because a coworker asked me today, and I didn't know because I haven't read the comic and I hadn't heard anybody talk about that scene yet. So I didn't realize that those are actually Commonwealth or comic book Commonwealth. We don't know what they're going to be called in this necessarily.
I'm pretty sure they're going to call it the Commonwealth. I have a funny feeling, and not to spin off topic, but, we've already been seeing CRM. CRM being, as we know now, is Civic Republic Military. And that's a completely different organization from what I could tell, because if you look at them in The World Beyond, that particular first episode showed them in dark black clothing. That's the stuff that Fear introduced. And with that one girl that, what's her name, encountered.
Yeah, that Althea
had encountered, with the helicopter and everything. Yep.
Yes.
So I think there's groups of these different militant style. So I think they're all sequestered in their own communities sporadically throughout the U.S. And I think this CRM's part of that specific one, where it's the part of the main overall scheme of things, whereas the Commonwealth's going to be more focused in on what the actual comic was. So I have a funny feeling the CRM's going to be the Rick movie thing, whereas the Commonwealth, we're going to just wrap that up as far as the show is concerned for its comic ties. And then who knows, maybe with what's her name, Ginny from Fear, she might not be involved in that, and she has her own little segregated community, because we're starting to see masks and wackiness in those previews that we're getting.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, folks, you might get something interesting next week when Fear the Walking Dead comes out, because I'm going to be experimenting with something, and I might just throw it up on our Panels to Pixels YouTube.
Ooh,
So that'll
I
be
like
fun.
the sound of that.
So that's a little bit of news later on
be
for what we'll
fun.
do for Panels to Pickles, just for fun, because Mr. Kabasi himself actually challenged me to something, which is pretty funny.
Ooh.
And we-
All right, that's exciting.
So,
That's
That could
exciting.
be
So we'll see what that
great.
is.
So
Very
let-
cool.
so who's next?
Me. So my number 3 is just all those aerial shots we got of the medical complex, and then at the horde as it's going to the cliff, and just it seemed like they did a lot of. We've seen these a few times in the shows that they do these aerial shots, but I think they were used really well in this episode, especially that we got these wide shots showing us how big the horde is, how big that medical complex is, and then like the cliff itself and just what's going on. And so that really impressed me. All those, like I said, I don't know if they use drones for those kind of things or how they do it, but it was really cool camera shots.
Yeah, I like the idea in the aerial shots. You could tell where they needed that time with the effects for all this time in between during this whole pandemic that we've been involved in, where they had to clear up and get all those effect shots in, a lot of lighting on specific scenes that we've already seen before with previews, with it, like even within the first 10 minutes of the movie or 5 minutes that we got in that clip that we kept seeing over and over and over again throughout the summer as soon as it came out. And you could see what work went into getting this out to what they wanted. And I really do appreciate that in that sense. And the aerial shots, like with the one with Carol being on the cliff, that was a really good shot. The aerial shot of the walkers where it's a whole swarm of them. So yeah, I agree with you. That was, I'm just loving the cinematography and what they did and the effects involved with that.
Yeah.
So my number 3, well, I have to agree with Daphne. I have to switch things around. So basically, yeah, we get the Commonwealth arc, finally. So, but Norman Reedus mentioned that they were done with the comic storylines on The Talking Dead. Unfortunately, he was wrong, because obviously we see those stormtrooper-looking guys. And it just looked to me, even though it's so comic book accurate with the suits, it's like the Empire from Star Wars came in and started taking over. But as soon as I was like, oh yes, I just literally got up and screamed when I first saw it on. And yes, I saw this Thursday night when they got we got it early with AMC premiere, just like everybody else.
Is it introduced the same way in the comic books with Eugene or somebody going off to meet
Other people? Yes, they do encounter.
Yeah.
So it's the same interaction. Different people. Ezekiel's not there because, and spoilers for you who didn't read the comic, Ezekiel's dead. So he was one of the spiked head people. So basically, this is a different kind of story in itself.
Well, and I'm a little confused too, because I thought, wasn't Georgie, didn't she say she was the Commonwealth, or did people think Georgie was from the Commonwealth and that's where Maggie went?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe this is going to be maybe they're going to take a different, twist on it.
Yeah, this is going to be a different direction
than the comic books did. I think they've shown that they can do that they have that that inspiration, that imagination, that they can go, they don't have to, just because they're going to use
exactly
a little piece from the comic book doesn't mean that it's going to be
Yeah,
everything.
It
So-
hasn't been comic book direct in years, in a sense where it reflected exactly. Certain scenes were taken, like I'll give a spoiler for a comic book situation. This is the end of the Whisperer War, obviously. Father Gabriel died during the Whisperer War by Beta, by getting stuck coming down to warn people, and he gets hung up upside down and his throat is slit and then his body is just torn apart by Zeds.
Yeah.
We didn't get that at all. And
Yeah,
nobody
so-
suffered that
No.
that attack, and we never saw it visually, even though we had one where it was the tower, an episode called The Tower, And we never got that. And we all
Yeah.
assumed, and I assumed that we were going to get that. And I thought, oh, well, maybe we'll get
And
it at
that's-
the end. But nope.
And that's what I'm saying is I think we can dispense with the worry. I mean, you know,
The worry. My worry?
Yeah, your worry, or just anybody's worry about, oh, they don't have enough imagination, because I think they do. I think they've shown us
Yeah.
throughout these last, at least definitely the last 4 or 5 years, I want to say, maybe prior to Negan, but even then with the Negan episodes, with the deaths that was different than what it was in the comic book. Even though we had one similar death, we didn't have another one, and we've had a lot of things that they've done. They've shown that they're willing to change it up, and so I have faith. I have faith in them. I have faith in these writers, and I think we're gonna see something really good coming up.
Definitely. Yeah. We never even got Terminus in the comic. And to me, that was a great input
That
into
was
the show itself.
wonderful.
And it made everything really cool that season when especially that one episode.
Yes. That is my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite episode ever. I know I'm not the only one that loves that
Oh, I
episode,
love it.
but-
That whole cow redemption of her coming after. Yeah, all right. We could go into that later.
So
Yeah.
we could. We definitely could. But I do love, I have to echo what Steve said. I do love what Angela Kang has done, especially the last 2 years. So I do have hope that this will.
And she's been on the show
Definitely.
as a writer and influencer on the show since like season 2, I think. So,
Yeah.
To me, that was the perfect person to throw into the main show. Leave Gimple aside for a little bit for other things, but
I feel like she's a fan of the show.
She is.
And she has actually said that on occasion. And I feel like that definitely comes across in the episodes, because I'm a fan, and watching it, I am just feeling like, ooh, she really knew exactly what I wanted. Not all the time, but a good part of the time, she really delivered. I mean, and she had such a tough job with having to deal with Andrew Lincoln's departure.
Yeah.
So, and how to handle that. So I do have faith in her.
well, I do too. So we're on to your number 2, Daphne.
All right. My number 2. Well, it's kind of a hodgepodge of a few things. Some of it has to do with Lydia and talking to Negan about how he could be a hero, even though he didn't seem to think so or want to be. And also Lydia and Carol's dynamic. Because I feel like she really was trying to get Carol to talk to her, to not be her mother, but just to be just someone, I guess, to guide her.
Confide,
To confide in, because she realized that her mother was never really the mother that she needed or wanted, or in any way. And so I think Lydia is just really looking for adult people in her life, maybe female adult people in her life that she can look to help, guide her growth, because she's really had no direction other than following what her mother wanted, which we all know was really off the rails. So I think that whole arc between Lydia and Carol, the entire story going all the way to the end, where Carol is prepared to walk off the cliff and Lydia doesn't let her, and then they sort of go in amongst these rocks and cry. I feel like they had this bonding moment.
Yeah. Also, in the fact that at that point, I think Carol was like, I have nothing really to live for. I've lost so many children, all her kids. She thinks of the 2 girls. She thinks of her son, Sophia. All these kids just are gone. And I think when she looked at Lydia, she didn't want to be a mother to her. And when Lydia brought that up to her, she had nothing really to go for exactly. Not even, Daryl was like on her mind or whatever. Like not even Ezekiel, even to some degree, even though they've been broken up. I think it's for the fact that I think it was as close to the Carol Starry arc in the comic that we could ever get, where in the comic earlier on, you're talking within the first 15, 20 issues, she winds up suggesting like a threesome with Rick and his wife, Lori. And then next thing you know, she literally lets a walker bite her and just tear her apart.
This Carol is very different than the Carol
very
in the
different.
comics.
But the
Very
fact
different.
is, it showed a moment of weakness, but somebody was able to pull her from it to show hope for a different life. Maybe she'll go to Mexico with Daryl. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
She very well could.
This was one of my few criticisms of the episode, was this very convenient hole with a rock over it so that no walkers will fall into them, and no walkers. This was one of my the
How
hand
convenient.
of God moments. Going, oh. Yeah, there's this little hole right here where Carol happens to be standing, and there happens to be a rock over top of it.
And none of
so
the
that-
sets go after her
Yeah.
as Lydia is pulling her to her to get into that set
Well,
hole.
they didn't make any sound. I was okay with that because we saw them move through the herd
Yeah.
silently. As long as they didn't make any noise, they were fine.
Yeah.
But it just, that convenient hole, that was one of my few kind of come
Yeah,
on.
I got you.
moments.
Well, I still don't think though that Carol has like resigned herself to be a mother figure for Lydia.
Oh no, I don't think so.
I don't think that this was about them being mother-daughter. I think it was Lydia seeing that Carol was near the end, and I think Lydia does feel this connection to Carol, and she didn't want to see her do that. And maybe she wanted to show her there was more to live for. I'm not sure. I do get the part about the convenient rocks.
Yeah.
Totally get that. One more thing about this scene, though, that I loved is watching Lydia throw Alpha's mask
Mhm.
over with all the others. The way that float, I mean, just the cinematography of how it floated down, it just, to me, was so impactful.
And the music, too. The music in this episode
Oh.
was really good at that point. Bear McCreary and who was the other person we were talking about the other night?
I can't remember his name off the top of my
But
head.
regardless, the music in itself had that eerie tone throughout certain scenes. That was really cool about this, I think.
Yeah, we're not going to hear that beta tone anymore. That urgent, da-da. There's just this little thing in the music that always played for the Whispers, especially for beta, and I really liked it.
Very true. So, Steve, what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is just really, really quick. It's just the return of Maggie, and I love the hat. I love just the whole thing. We've seen it for months, like you said. We saw these first 8 minutes or 10 minutes. We saw those months ago during the Comic-Con, or even before that. I can't remember when they released that. So we knew she was going to be in the episode. We didn't know that she was going to have such a pivotal role. And this is my second kind of hand of God moment in the episode, is that they show up exactly right when they're needed to save Gabriel. It's a little, come on. I thought there were more, the confusion that I had, and I'll tack this on to my number 2, is I thought we were given the impression in the first 15 episodes that there were a lot of Whisperers, like that the Whisperers way outnumbered our
like a huge
group.
horde that was going to be there within this big
like
horde of zombies.
Within the horde of zombies, there was going to be a lot of Whisperers, and yet in this episode, we get them kind of cleaned out fairly easily, really.
Or filtering inside,
They kill like 3 or 4 of them right at the Gabriel kills like 3 or 4 of them right there at the beginning, and then he's being attacked, and 3 more, and then that's it. And I guess we're supposed to assume that Aaron and Snake Eyes and Maggie killed the rest on their way up. But then also Daryl makes that comment, we're going to go back into the horde, or we're going to hunt down the Whisperers, and we're going to kill them all. And we don't really see that. That's kind of that's taken off screen, to where all of a sudden now we have all of our group is just, we're good. We got everybody. And
it wasn't in the budget, Steve. You didn't get that memo.
No, like I said, it was one of those things that I just kind of, maybe I understand that they had to do things kind of on the fly with COVID, and so maybe there
actually this was done before COVID at that point.
Right, but I'm saying maybe they were going to try to fill something in. I don't know. I'm just trying to give them reasons why this tactic would work, because it's. Anyway, but I know, just the return of Maggie.
Yeah.
I loved everything about that, and just a few little issues with the end of this Whisperer skirmish.
And I have to agree with that too. That it would be my number 2 as well, as that Snake Eyes guys coming in with Maggie at the last minute. And yes, I'm referring to Maggie has some sort of mute ninja assailant, just like Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe. that I thought was pretty awesome. He's got the commas.
Loved it.
And
Loved it.
that is nothing that I have seen in the comic, and I'm really, really loving it. The only thing closest to that would would be Jesus when he came into the comic, you know? And
Mm.
even though it's a little over the top, especially with the way that Aaron looks at him after he saves Father
Yes,
Gabriel,
I
he gives
noticed
that
that.
snide look. But the guy is very mute, and he's got that like whole Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe element, and I just love that
Yeah.
idea. I'm hoping they don't give him a backstory. Maybe Maggie just says, "Oh, he can't speak because he got injured in his throat."
Well, we don't
and-
know that either. That's speculation as well.
Yeah,
we just didn't hear him speak during this episode.
But
you
I
know,
would
that's
just
all.
love it if that were the
Right.
case, so that way it's like, yeah, he's just a mystery. And that would be awesome to me. I'll be like, yeah, it looks like, and just keeps everybody kind of Black Noir in The Boys,
Mhm,
as we're going to be
yeah.
talking about a lot this season, Steve.
Yep, exactly.
So we're on to our number ones.
Daphne.
All right. Well, this shouldn't be a surprise. But my number one is all things Beta. Just because right from the beginning, Ryan Hurst was the person I wanted to play this role. And when I found out he was playing it, I was ecstatic that he was going to have the role. Because I loved watching him on Sons of Anarchy, and I just felt like he could bring the stature and the intensity that the role
Mhm.
required. And so Frowny McTwo-Knives, which is who he is to me from the comic, I was so excited, and I think that Negan actually called him Frowny McTwo-Knives.
He did.
He
You did.
Show, and
Yeah.
yes, and I might have screamed at that point, but he is no more. I just, while I liked how he went out, I thought it was cool. I just feel like overall the end of the Whisperer War, considering all the menacing behavior that went on with the Whisperers,
Mhm.
that this episode needed to be another 30 minutes longer.
A little, and
I
that's what I
agree.
was saying earlier. Is a little anticlimactic that we just kind of, okay, it's done.
Yeah, well,
know?
Yeah.
it also goes back to when we had to deal with all-out war for 2 years, and I think at that point they were like, we can't really stretch this out anymore because we've already upset our viewers at this point with just dealing with Negan and his overbearing dictating rule, and a lot of people like the Whisperers, and some of them don't. So let's get this story arc done so we can move on.
And that could have been.
yeah.
That,
Yeah, and they wanted to move on to the Commonwealth
they actually,
to
and on
change it a
Talking
little.
Dead, I don't know if you guys had watched Talking Dead.
I watched
yet,
some of it.
I have not
They
yet.
talked about that scene between Ryan Hurst and Norman Reedus. They kind of talked about, they went around and that Ryan Hurst kind of wanted a bigger fight scene.
Yes, he
wanted
did.
a longer, more fight scene, but that Norman Reedus kind of put in the idea of, well, let's make it more quick because we've already had this big knife fight between the two of them, and let's reverse the roles. Let's have Daryl save Negan, whereas Negan saved Daryl
Mhm.
the other time, and then this whole idea of him kind of jumping up and stabbing the knives down into his eyes. I think they kind of abandoned the whole jumping thing because they ended up putting Beta on his knees. But I liked it. I thought it was perfect. I didn't think it was too short. I appreciated just that whole move of stabbing down between the eyes and missing, and like even Norman points out the fact that he said he talked about he wanted to stab in a downward motion so that he missed the brain, so you could have that scene of Beta being attacked by the walkers and kind of being there. So I liked it. That is one moment that I will say I thoroughly enjoyed. I wasn't mad about it being short. I thought it was really great.
Awesome.
I just thought that the lead into it should have been longer. I feel like it was like, oh, and it's over. But the cool thing, though, I will say, is trying to determine when Beta is seeing what's really happening and what's happening in his head, and the back and forth.
It got
in
a
this
little bit
episode,
confusing, yeah.
It was confusing at times. I mean, when he's been stabbed in the eyes and he's standing there, and it's like his whole flock is just coming to worship him. And then all of a sudden,
Oh,
that's not really what was going on. And then he's devoured, which I think is the perfect end for him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's just who he is. So it is perfect. And I just wish it had been just a little bit longer. I did like one part though that it looked like Lydia was walking through wearing Alpha's mask, and I think that tripped him up. I think that threw him off his game a little bit because I don't think he expected to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had a lot of thoughts about that moment of, do you think Lydia was actually trying to escape and she changed her mind when Carol spotted her, or was she specifically
Not
looking
at all.
for Carol and the group to join up with them?
I think she just wanted to join up with them, and when Carol spotted her, she knew her right away. To me, for a second, I'm like, who's this whisperer that's coming up behind her? And then I realized, oh, that's Lydia. And
Yep,
and
the
then
mask.
she kind of moved in, and everybody gave her that look of like, wow, she's here. And then she offers up the let's help the because the herd and everything, so they could go over the cliff and be like lemmings. But
Well, she came up big for them in this episode too by pointing out which people in the horde of zombies were whisperers.
exactly. Well, she
She was
grew
standing
up
up
in
there and
that
she was pointing
element,
them
so
out.
she knew. So
She knew
And-
who they were.
yep.
Yeah.
So Steve, you're number one.
Yeah, just the return of Virgil, and I was waiting the whole episode to see if we would see Connie's fate, because that's been the big question mark, right? For ever since whatever that
Yeah.
cave-in episode was, the big question mark has been: is Connie alive? Is she dead? Is she in the horde? Is she what? We saw Magna and the others that kind of looked like walkers almost coming out of the horde, and there's that moment between Daryl and is it Magna, right? When he asks her, "Are you going to be okay?"
Yes.
Going back into the horde.
Yes.
Because he knew that this could be triggering for her because she spent so much time there. So it was just really cool to see Connie, to see her wake up and to see her stumbling through the forest, and then for Virgil to find her, because we don't know much about this guy. And this is another thing that Norman Reedus brought up during Talking Dead, is that he kind of likes the character of Virgil because there's kind of a mystery there. I mean, we know he kind of had a crazy moment there on the island with Michonne, where
Yeah.
he was killing his own people or locking up his own people, and so he's kind of got that crazy side to him. But at the same time,
he's got that Morgan element to him, I think, and that's what I got the feeling of him after a while. He's the wannabe Morgan, and now he's gonna help out Connie at this point. And Connie, if you looked at her, she had a really bad hair day when she came out.
Oh, goodness.
All that dust and everything. Her being deaf and not being able to talk, obviously, the only thing that gives her is her looking around that shows that she's real. So good thing he didn't bat her over the head or something.
Well, because she looked really, really bad.
Yes.
yeah.
It was not good. My fiance actually asked me, "Who is that?" He didn't know who it was. And so I had to explain it to him. And that one thing about Magna, you were mentioning her walking through the horde, her face, like the entire time, there was just this look of like PTSD or stress.
Yeah.
You could tell that
That fear was there.
the fear was there as they would walk by and brush up against her. I mean,
Oh, and so was Kelly too. And Kelly had the mask on, and that mask actually, that mask
Pretty
looked great
incredible.
on her, and it was incredible with everything, with the lighting and everything. I thought it looked amazing with her behind Daryl and them moving in between. Those scenes were really, really good. So on to my number one, which the look everyone has during the bug out from Hilltop, which pretty much is that scene, very reminiscent of season 6, episode 9, and we've seen this before. In this case, Beatrice is the one that gets killed in the daylight instead of that pain in the ass kid that Carol was like trying to trick with cookies. And
oh goodness. Sam. Poor Sam.
But there's always one casualty. It's kind of a trope. It's something we have seen before, but
Yeah.
in this case, I liked it for the fact it was in the daylight and it was everybody working together. But there are other Hilltop red shirts that do get killed during this time within this, especially during the wagon train. If you think about it, with Burning Down a House playing down by the
Yes.
Talking Heads.
Loved that.
And, it was really impactful. And I'm glad that they got music back on the show again, because it's been so long since we had any strange music like that every once in a while.
Yeah. I think the guy that died, the Hilltop guy, I think his name was Oscar.
Yes.
The one that they killed. Yeah.
It looked like Oscar, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Oscar from season 2 in the prison, but
No.
a different Oscar.
Different Oscar.
He's long been gone.
Yeah. It's a different Oscar.
And did Luke? Which one was Luke's love interest? Wasn't Beatrice, right?
No.
No.
His kind of survived, right? So
Yes.
we still have that.
Jules,
Is that
yeah.
okay? Jules. Okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember which one was his, and I didn't. At the end with the reunion, I was so focused on Maggie and Judith's reunion that I didn't even look at anybody else. Really, I saw, King Ezekiel's guy Jerry. I saw
Jerry, yes.
Jerry's reunion with his family, and that, but I wasn't sure about Luke. So that's good. I'm glad with that.
Yeah, Luke actually got to hold hands with Jules
Mhm.
Yep.
Very good.
walking out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he got to put some like guts on her back.
That's dating in the apocalypse.
And I guess so. It's
That's it.
Foreplay.
It's dating. I will say this. I was thinking about this when I was rewatching the episode.
Mm.
Those whispers, they really needed a chiropractor. I mean, who is going to fix the back issues that they have from being hunched over and, kind of walking and shambling along? I mean, just watching Beta when he first goes into mode so he can start shambling,
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
You
Cocks
need a
the head to the
chiropractor.
side and kind of,
yeah.
does this weird thing with his shoulders and yeah.
Yeah, it definitely. I was just thinking, the Whispers need a chiropractor.
He needs a good back stretch or somebody to pop his back a little bit every once in a
Yoga,
while.
maybe.
Yeah. Well, actually, Ryan Hurst does a lot of meditating and things of that nature, so I think that prepared him for it. All right, on to notes that we all have. I only have one because I think I brought up like half of the other things that I heard he had. But Daphne, if you want to go on with
Okay.
your...
Okay, so I may have an unpopular opinion here. Maybe.
Okay.
So Maggie saved the day for Gabriel,
Mm-hmm.
which was nice to see. However, and even though I actually like the character of Gabriel now,
Mhm.
I feel like him going out there would have been a great ending to a character arc.
Yes.
For him-
I like that I'm glad you brought this up. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
Well, the thing is, remember at St. Sarah's Church, and he locked his
Mhm.
parishioners out, and he was this coward and just this meek little man who he
Right,
really was
right.
not courageous or strong
I
in
meant-
any
I meant-
way.
I meant to put this in my notes, but totally forgot. So I'm glad you bring this up because I really wanted this to be one of my points, and is just the sacrificial non-sacrifices that we had because
Yeah.
we have Gabriel saying, "I'm going to sacrifice myself so that everybody else can be saved," and then he doesn't need to do it.
Mhm.
And then we have Carol the same way. Carol saying, "I'm willing to sacrifice myself," and oh no, I don't have to do it. So it was really kind of almost a theme of seeing those people that were willing to die, but then didn't have to. So I wonder if that's going to come up later on. I wonder if Rosita's ever going to find out that. What do you mean you were going to sacrifice yourself? What?
Poor Rosita. I mean, really, everything she's been through
Yeah.
with everyone she's lost.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
really, are you thinking about being a hero when the woman that you supposedly love has lost everyone
Correct, yeah.
and needs you? You're not thinking about being a father, a husband and father.
Right. Right.
Well, so
I
did
know
Rick.
this is true.
Look what Rick did on the bridge.
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking. He wanted,
Yeah.
no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on, don't. And then he shoots and boom, he's gone.
and it's gone. So I really, though I didn't want him to die, I just feel like what a great arc to see him be courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
step forward, because he really, to me, didn't start changing until the Negan stories. Like when
Yes.
Negan came around, and then it was like, okay, who is this Gabriel? This is a
Right.
Gabriel that I could like,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this would have been such an amazing arc for him to go out in that way. So I was a little disappointed that, I guess, maybe a little disappointed that he didn't go out there. But I was
Yeah.
happy, that Maggie saved the day. I just found it very convenient and
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the same thought I had as Carol is walking towards the cliff. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. something's going to happen because we know we've already been spoiled that there's going to be a Carol and Daryl spinoff.
Yes.
True,
So
yeah.
obviously, unless it's zombie Carol that's going to be in the spinoff,
Yeah, it's like, hold on, Carol, I got
Yeah.
to buy the chains.
you know,
Yeah.
something's going to happen that's going to save her. But I did have a tense moment there, thinking, what is going on? How is this going to work? And so yeah, very good.
Yeah, I think they loved Seth Gilliam's character, the writers. So I think they just loved the idea of having Seth around. And plus, with what we know about Christian Serratos, she's supposedly set to play Selena. So there was that whole idea when we lost another character a few years ago, and she went to Star Trek. So
Yes.
I have a funny feeling. It's like, all right, well, we might lose Rosita, but we'll still have Father Gabriel and the baby. So who
Yes.
knows? This is all speculation, but we've already seen this before where an actor has gotten another job and then they were killed off like 2 episodes later.
Yeah.
When we get that
It's
information.
hard, too, to see that when you have a character who's been on the show since season 5. Because we've lost so many of the early characters
Yes.
that how many can you really lose before the fans are just kind of like, well, this isn't even the same.
Well, they're keeping a couple of the OGs. You got Daryl and you got Carol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, really, that's really all we have for the very beginning. So
Yeah.
yeah.
okay, I had a couple of notes that we haven't talked about. I really loved the general sense of hope that Ezekiel was given, even though we know Ezekiel has this carbuncle on his shoulder, that he's not long for this world, or maybe the Commonwealth has a way, maybe these
cure.
people that cure, I don't know, but I really like that hope they were giving to Eugene, and then you meet Yumiko and Princess, they kind of join in on that hope as well, and then even Eugene picks up on it there at the very end before they get captured or whatever is going to happen to them. We don't know. So yeah, and then I loved Luke's when he said he kind of knocked on his head gesture when he was talking about the plugging stuff. He said, "I'm going to plug stuff in, and then this is all going to work." And he went like he didn't actually say "knock on wood."
Yeah, I know.
But he knocked on his head, and I thought that was really funny. So
Mine, well, since you already went through it, I love the whole idea of Ezekiel giving hope to Eugene because he's done so much wrong over the years, but he decided I wanted to do this so I could meet this woman, meet a different community, give hope. And he started losing it to the point where he even started feeling like there's no hope for this. And maybe we are getting set up at this point and I don't want to do anymore. And then the fact that he gets that pep talk from Ezekiel and of all things, Princess and Kumiko. And I thought that was really endearing for the fact that the character, a lot of people were hating on him ever since he did that whole, Saviors thing back, 2 or 3 seasons ago. I think it was 2 seasons ago. But regardless, to me, I love that idea. The only note that I could show that's new, the Back to the Future reference that Luke does during the discussion of leading away the pack of walkers with the music and everything. I left as soon as he gave that gesture of making the connections of the connector points for music or something. And that was straight out of did he just make a Doc Brown reference right there? So
that's good. I didn't pick up on that. I didn't see that until you just showed me. So it's I did not put that together, but that is kind of cool.
yeah, we did a live watch party viewing of it last night when it was on show with a bunch of people who were friends on Zoom. So I brought that up and Alex was just like, wait, wow, you got that. I was like, yeah, I just realized that now. I'd already seen the show already, so but I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, he just made a cool pop culture reference.
We need those interwoven amongst everything. Sometimes I feel like the writers do that just to make sure we're paying attention.
Oh yeah. All right. So we finished with notes, or did you have any, Daphne, that you wanted to divulge more
let me
of?
check real quick, but I
think we've covered everything I got.
Oh, there was one thing that I thought was a little bit strange. Carol, when Beatrice went down, her first inclination was, I've got to get the backpack off and get it to Carol. Like, this is what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Carol looked at her like she was already lost. Like, Carol looked already lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Already lost. Like, she didn't know what to do.
I
And
think she
thank
was getting
goodness-
flashbacks from like season. What was it? I was saying. What was it? Season 6, episode 9.
Could be.
So think about it, because she was within that crowd, and that kid was killed, and Carl got his eye shot out.
Oh, goodness.
It's all fun and games till
Yeah,
Carl gets his eye shot out.
I really think you're right. I think part of it was Carol was just, she forgot for a moment that Luke was very specific that he needed everything.
Every single piece.
Every single piece that we have has got to come and get to where we're going, because if it doesn't, I can't complete this thing. And so Beatrice recognized that I've got to give somebody my pack.
Correct.
And so I really am glad. I was kind of worried about that for a second, the second time I watched it, or the first time I watched it, because I was like, wait a minute, doesn't she need that? And
Yes.
so when I saw Carol go back and get it, I was like, okay, good.
Carol
So-
didn't get it. Lydia got it.
Oh, that was Lydia who grabbed it. Now
Yeah,
Yeah,
Carol
yeah.
kept
Okay.
Carol kept
Kept
walking
walking.
on to the woods.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And
Thank you. That clears
I-
up for me. Yeah.
Just was like, oh, we're going back to the Carol who's kind of lost again, because we keep going back and forth. I like Carol when she's at her best and
Oh,
she's
that
ready to
yeah.
kick butt, but yeah,
that
she-
shows an even deeper arc for her character in this episode then, because Lydia, it does show us that you're okay now. I'm tracking, because Lydia was wanting to hook up with them, and so she got Beatrice's backpack.
Yeah.
yeah,
Carol sees her, and then Carol brings her into the okay.
yeah.
And then at the end, okay, that makes so much more sense. I thought it was Carol that
Mm-mm.
went back, and then I thought Lydia just had a backpack on, had her like her own backpack.
No. I
Okay,
realized that
she
that was
had
her backpack.
Beatrice's
Yeah.
backpack.
She got,
okay.
and Beatrice really was fighting. Like, you could tell she knew
Mhm.
she was going out. She knew that it was over, but she knew that the bigger picture was making sure that they could escape from there, which meant they needed to get the backpack to the rest of the group
Gotcha.
so that Luke could put everything together and make it work. And so I just was like, Carol, why are you even out there? Like,
that
you
makes
were just
so much more sense to me
lost.
now then. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense to me now. So
Yeah,
Good.
I think that's the last thing on my notes. I just really wanted to point that out because when I rewatched it today, the second time around, it was the same thing. It's like, wow, she just looks like she doesn't even know where she is.
yeah, and I missed doing a third rewatch of it, because I think I might have picked up on that it was Lydia who grabbed the bag. I really didn't realize that was the bag that Lydia had, was Beatrice's bag. So
Yeah.
I find
okay.
it strange, too, that Negan kept Alpha's mask.
Well, they shared that
He's
one
Negan.
time with their socks on in the woods.
That's true. That is true. Oh my gosh.
All right, so we can move on to some quotes. I only have one, and I think Daphne, you'll have one too.
I do.
So I'll start with mine. As they're prepping to go out there and do the guts thing and go into the crowd of zombies, Daryl sees that Negan's there, and he goes, "Huh, why are you clean?" And Negan just turns around and goes, "I'm on the top of every skin's kill list, especially fee, fi, fo, asshole. So if the idea is to get through without drawing a shitload of attention, then I am the last person these people want standing next to them." Sorry, I had to, get my Jeffrey Dean
That was
Morgan
perfect.
inside.
That was perfect. And I have to wonder, they didn't want Lydia out there with them? I mean, Beatrice was
Of
like,
all people.
Mhm.
We don't want Lydia out there. They certainly would not have wanted Negan out there.
Negan,
either.
no.
Right, exactly.
Come on.
It's like, was he there? I ever had. No.
No. Not at all. And there's still hurt feelings, too, because Diane was kind of, like, frustrated with Carol, saying
Oh, yeah.
he was attacking Hilltop with the whispers, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's like Carol had to do what Carol had to do, and things are over because of it. We lost people, but we probably would have lost a lot more. had
Well,
she not.
Diane knew that Carol was responsible for Negan
Yeah.
being out there, and that's why she was pissed off at Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I get it.
we're still on the Negan redemption. I think there's still some redemption for
Oh,
Negan,
definitely.
and he definitely
Yeah.
showed it in this episode when he did go out after them. He gives Lydia the mask. He sends her out, and that was, I don't have a quote because I don't remember directly how he said it, but when they're having that discussion, he and Lydia, she says, "You can be a hero," and he says, "Well, maybe that's what I'm doing," when he gives her the mask.
Yes.
And then we
Yeah.
do know that he does end up in the Horde, and because he calls out to Beta there in the middle of the Horde.
He does.
So-
And funny you mentioned that because that's the quote I'm going to bring up.
Go ahead.
It was after Daryl puts Beta out of his misery, or rather, sinks him into his misery. Negan says to Daryl at the end, "Holy shit! You know who that asshole was?" Because you know what? Negan knows that it's that. I think that he's called Half Moon, or I
Yeah.
think that was the name of the singer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
And Daryl says, "Yeah, nobody." I'm like, that's so typically Daryl.
But also, that's a kind of a twist and spin on the comic because everybody
Yes.
knew that Beta in the comic was a basketball star. And then how he went out with more of a whimper than with a bang because he literally, Aaron was on top of him and just cut his throat, and then
Yeah.
they just left him for the dead to eat him. And in this
Yeah.
case, he went out and tried like some sort of moment of glory, even though it's like, wow, that was a little extreme with through the eyes and everything.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's like at least with the show, they gave him a more of a glorious style, and even though it was really short. Whereas with the comic, it was kind of like we built up on this character of being so ominous, the biggest bad in the world that is Alpha's second-hand man, or right-hand man, I should say. And he goes out like a whimper. And with this, the show did some pretty good things with it, I think.
Agreed. I think it was much better on the show as far as like the way he went out, and
Mhm.
it was, it was a great testament, I think, because of how amazing I think Ryan Hurst has been in this role. I think it was cool to see him go out, his character go out in a way like this. I think I just wish the fight itself been just a bit longer, or even the Whisper War, not the Whisper War, but the end of the Whisper War had been a little more exciting, I guess, or more action packed, because I guess that's what I was expecting. But with the Whispers and how slow they shamble, I guess I shouldn't have thought that.
Well, I'm curious to, we'll move on to other notes that we want to see what's going into with the show as it comes. Now, obviously, the Whisper War is ending. The Commonwealth story is going to come into play. Will the Whisperers that are left over that have nobody to lead them, will they
There
come?
are no Whisperers left over. They killed them all.
You think they
You
did,
think
but
they
I'm not
did.
100%
Me
sure
neither.
that they
Well,
all
maybe.
died.
I mean, don't you think though, if there had been, maybe, I guess
And
I
no
can
one's
go
going
with
to
you.
know, Steve.
Kind of
You're
like
right.
the
Because-
Savior situation where the Saviors got moved into Hilltop and
Yeah.
Alexandria.
No one's-
I just think this is, and I'm going to call it. This is done. This storyline is done.
It should be, yes. I
And
don't
yeah,
blame you. Yeah.
We're not going to have, some ex-whisperer show up. Because even if they did, Lydia would be the only one who might recognize them, right?
Maybe.
So
Because
I
remember,
just,
Lydia didn't recognize Dante.
right.
Very
That's what I'm
true.
saying. Is I just think I want the show to move. I guess what I'm saying is I want the show
to move on.
move forward.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it
want us
should.
to go back.
Backward,
I don't.
yeah.
I don't need us to have it's the return of the Whisperers or it's the return of.
Yeah, we don't want
I want
that.
the show to move forward.
I agree with
don't-
you.
know,
Yeah.
Agreed.
We don't
there
want-
could be some left out there, but Daryl was pretty clear that the only way they were going to get to that horde to shift was if they got rid of all the Whisperers, because that's what he said. He said we got to go in there
And get them
find
all
all
out.
the skins, kill them all, and then we can move this horde. So I guess maybe some of them would have survived, and maybe they would have saw that it was a losing battle. I think that cult was too strong.
Mhm.
That I don't think they would have gone, oh, this is a losing battle. We're gonna hide in the horde, because then they would and slip off into the darkness or whatever. I don't see that. But
Yeah.
It was kind of cool how they killed them off, too. Like, Beta was standing in the middle, and he'd hear a scream, and he'd turn around, and you'd see, like, the back of someone who had just slit somebody's throat or
Or
whatever.
Diane hitting somebody with an arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
And then-
very
and then
cool.
yeah, it was, and I love that that whole thing of them using the Whisperers' tactics basically against them,
Yeah.
Yes.
doing the exact same thing that the Whisperers were doing to them.
Sometimes that's what you have to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I don't think we're going to see somebody that's a whisperer called Psi Gamma Nu come out of nowhere and say, hey, I was a whisperer. I want to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
So
Probably not.
let's move on to a little bit of news, but it's going to go into kind of like a short review of what we saw already. So not only did The Walking Dead and came back, and that's news in itself, but we also got a new show following it called World Beyond. So I think we should discuss our first impressions of this based upon the original show and Fear. I think it's an interesting story arc where you got these people who are sheltered and these kids that are brought up. I like the beginning imagery where we see kind of like a cartoonish or comic booky thing on the zombies' faces when it shows the first beginning of the show. Very reminiscent of what we saw in Snowpiercer with the comic booky edge
Yes.
with certain scenes when we've seen that before when we reviewed that. The character structures are pretty cool. You have two sisters. You got some quirky, wacky kid that loves corduroy and goes out beyond... kind
I
of.
kind of like him. I think he's interesting.
So you got all these different things. It was like the boy's like a Lydia. He jumps over sneaks out, and you got the one goofy kind of kid that comes along and all that stuff. They're looking for a father. We see get a little bit more information on the CRM. I found that interesting. The one thing that was too predictable was the psychiatrist that Iris goes to. And I knew that was coming. She's got the cages already there. And she goes, oh, that's for them when they're ready to come and get me. And then the kid had to see it. And I knew that was coming. And then, and of course, with the CRM being the big bad, that was too obvious. But, and then there was the setup of the kid with the corduroy. And you knew that his mother was the one that the sister killed or something.
Gosh.
So to me, it was overall, but there was a lot of too predictable plot points, in my opinion. They made it a little fast, made it a little bit interesting to capture our attention. I give this like a 7 out of 10. And usually I give like Walking Dead a good like between 8 and 9. Fear is always usually going to be around 8, but I do that for the comedic portions of it. But, I still give Fear its credit because of the actors in that show. And I give the kids credit in this show because they are doing well as well.
I'd have to agree on a lot of that. I do question when I was first seeing some of the ads for this show, I did question, well, is this going to be the young adult version of Walking Dead for the teens and,
Saved by the Bell
20s?
for the Zedhead Society? Yeah.
But I think the ending of this first episode, if you look at what it looks like is they annihilate. I don't know if they killed everyone in that campus.
Yes,
that's what I gathered.
That's what I gathered too.
It looked to me like they killed that entire campus.
Yep.
And we're like, okay, the security, because, and this is one of the, I'll bring up a point that you didn't make that kind of bugged me, Mark.
What?
Was the fact that the two main security people, when these kids leave, the two main security people go, okay, we're just going to leave the whole community behind and go find these kids.
Oh yeah,
And
the guy and girl, yeah.
That opened the door for the CRM to be able to go, okay, we're just going to wipe the whole community out.
Yeah. That threw me. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that they were going to just walk away. And I also wasn't expecting that they were going to just completely eliminate that colony. And the fact that everyone that's on the way to go to New York has no idea that it's happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all their friends and some, I guess most of them didn't have family there, but any of their friends that they were going to school with or...
And that's the other thing that and I wish we had a bit of a slower reveal of the kids, the fact that Hope killed this boy's mother, and this boy's mother killed Hope's mother, Hope and Iris's mother. I wish we had a little bit of a more slow reveal of that.
Yeah.
Because now we basically know, and the big question I had is you guys have been friends for 10 years. because they were all pretty tight. You've been friends for 10 years. This has never come up in the entire
exactly.
10 years that you guys have been living in this community. The story of what happened to your parents on the night the sky fell. I have a little bit of an issue with that. So I started this afternoon. I mean, I liked it the first time I watched it, but then this afternoon, the more I started thinking about it, the more I started picking it apart. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of problems with this show, but I'm going to give them another couple episodes because I like the road trip aspect of it. I like that we have these four kids traveling. We have this couple that's behind them trying to catch up with them.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's a little bit like the sisters just assume that those two are coming after them. And that gave me a little bit of a pause because I was like, really, do you think they would leave the entire community behind just to track you down? I mean, maybe again, if you have this really tight bond, but it didn't feel like they had this tight bond.
No.
So yeah, there's some issues with it, but I'll give it a try. I'll give it a couple more episodes.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, me too. I am hopeful. I feel like the ending with them wiping out that whole colony, that made me think, okay, this could be better than what I was expecting. But I'm not ready to say, oh yeah, definitely, this is great. I'm cautiously optimistic, and we'll see where it goes.
Awesome. So with that, we'll just move on to comic news, and it's only one short one, and of course it's Walking Dead related. So this week, The Walking Dead Deluxe is coming out on Wednesday, October 7th. So by the time you get this, it's probably going to be like Thursday. So the issue should be already out at your local comic shop, or if you wanted to order it online still, you have that possibility. So it is a new comic run of the original Walking Dead. The only difference is it's all colorized because the original series was black and white. So I already have that on my pull list. That's something I'm looking forward to because it's kind of just rereading the series now with a different palette because it's colorized. So I enjoy that thought in that aspect. So I recommend everybody pick it up as well. So with that, we'll move on to podcast recommendations. So Daphne, do you have any?
I can recommend my
Go
own.
ahead.
Absolutely.
So last month, my friend Paige and I launched a podcast called Run for Your Lives. This week, I believe we're posting episode 6, which will be A Quiet Place. And we're covering monster movies, creature features, disaster flicks, a little bit of horror. We're kind of connecting things in our Run for Your Lives universe to see what we want to cover and what maybe our listeners want us to cover. And so we post new episodes every Friday night, sometimes early Saturday morning. And we're really excited. We're the first podcast on Pirate Core Entertainment. So we're very proud to be part of that family.
My only recommendation, well, aside from Pirate Core, would be Ben Beck's The Spotlight, the Celebrity Spotlight with Ben Beck. If you listen to that on the Next Level Podcast Network, basically this week he actually interviewed Dana DiLorenzo. And I've known Dana from cons that I've gone to, and I've interacted with her, and she's a trip. And she's a really good friend of Ben's, so I highly recommend you listen to this new episode that's up on The Spotlight with Ben Beck. So check that out.
The only thing I've got this week is Panels to Pixels. We are going to start on the Next Level Podcast Network. We are going to start covering The Boys season 2 this week. So we are definitely going to cover episodes 1 and 2 of The Boys this week. So send us your feedback. Let us know what you thought of The Boys. We're doing a special kind of the way we did The Witcher on this one. Mark and I, once we record, we will have seen the entire season of The Boys. So you don't need to worry about spoiling us on anything. Talk about what you see that was foreshadowed in those early episodes. And the way you can send your feedback to us is you can go to our website, which is panelstopixelspodcast.com. You can also go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/panelstopixels. And we've got an email address, panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle and the number 1 @gmail.com. If you got an old rotary telephone or your cell phone, whatever, you can call us up and leave us a voicemail, 845-350-2095. And as Mark talked about earlier, we have a YouTube channel as well, which is Panels to Pixels Podcast. Go over there, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to us, and check out Panels to Pixels on YouTube.
All right, and where else can listeners hear us, Steve?
Well, I am right here on Panels to Pixels every week. I send voicemails to various podcasts, and I enjoy hearing my own voice, apparently. And, but you can hear me. My voice will pop up on different places here and there.
As you will probably next week. So, I could be found right here on Panels to Pixels, as well as sending out audio feedback just the same as Steve does, that our friends do on their podcast, just like Daphne, Jason on Podcastica with Walking Dead Cast, and House Podcastica. And you can also hear me on another podcast called Adrenaline Cinema, and that could be found on the Pyrocore Entertainment Network, as well as Run for Your Lives. So that's the second one that's up on that particular network that I created. So now we have two on Pyrocore Entertainment Network. So the podcast, which is Adrenaline Cinema, is a podcast about all those action movies, suspense movies, adventure films, anything that gets you, your adrenaline moving or gets you itchy to move. And this week, Top Gun was just released. So that was Rima, Joe, and myself. And Rima you could find on Strange Indeed, and she does her own thing. I think they're doing Bly Manor or Blythe Manor?
The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Okay, there we go. Thank you for the
Probably
correction.
next week. I think it's October 9th. I can't remember the exact date.
It drops later this week.
Yeah.
on
So this week you could hear Rima and I go into the world of Top Gun and our thoughts and our love for that particular movie. So you could send us feedback there if you want. That's pretty much easier in the sense of you could just send an email. So Adrenaline Cinema Podcast @gmail.com. Made it pretty simple for everybody to send anything out there. You could always go to the Pyrocore Entertainment Network's website, which would be pyrocoreentertainment.com. You could go visit Adrenaline Cinema's site, or you could go to Run for Your Lives.
Run for Your Lives.
So where you could find both Adrenaline Cinema and Run for Your Lives. I believe Adrenaline Cinema you could hear on Spotify, TuneIn, and Deezer right now. We're working on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and a whole plethora of different hosting platforms so that we could be in your ears. So we are currently working on a lot when it comes to that. So, and also next week, the following week, and if you want to go to our Facebook page, Adrenaline would be facebook.com/Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. And you could just leave some comments or feedback for when we do Lethal Weapon, when Steve and I cover that. So just give us your thoughts and just leave a comment. There'll definitely be a link, and there'll definitely be somewhere for you to put a comment or direct message us. Who knows? So that's pretty much our show this week. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And I'm Daphne.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you on the next panel. Thank you everybody, and good night.
Good night.